When we think of top-tier athletes, our minds usually jump to gold medals, broken records, and standing on a podium. But today, we're diving into the story of figure skater Alysa Liu. And what makes her so fascinating isn't just her jaw-dropping skill on the ice, it's the incredible mindset she had to build just to survive the crushing pressure of it all. So it really makes you wonder, right? What actually defines a champion? Is it just the medals they hang around their neck, or is it something deeper, something you can't see? For Alysa Liu, the answer she found, well, it changed everything. It's like looking at two sides of a coin. On one side, you've got the stats, the stuff we can all measure. Youngest champion, history-making jumps, the titles. But then you flip it over, and you see what's really powering the machine. Playfulness, curiosity, detachment, and just pure joy. The real story here is how she built that second side. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start by totally rethinking what a title even means. Then we'll look at the insane pressure that nearly broke her. After that, we'll break down her amazing recipe for balance, see the team that helped her build it, and finally look ahead to 2030, where she's chasing something way more valuable than gold. All right, first up, more than the medals. This is where we start to peel back the layers on how Alysa basically tore up the rulebook on what it means to be a champion. And get this, these are her own words. It's so powerful. To her, that title of world champion isn't some heavy burden she has to carry. She sees it as just words, a temporary label you get for having a good day, not something that defines who you are as a human being. And here's the key difference she makes. A judge's score, that can be subjective, but the performance itself, the art, the feeling she creates on the ice, that's real. That's what has value. But, and this is a huge but, reaching that mindset was not an easy road. It was born out of a really intense struggle. Which leads us perfectly into our next section, the weight of winning. Because before she found all this balance and clarity, the pressure to just keep winning, to live up to her own success, it almost became too much to bear. I mean, that is just a brutally honest look behind the curtain, isn't it? We're not talking about some pre-competition nerves here. This was a full-blown emotional crisis. It was a giant red flag that the way she was approaching her sport was just completely broken. Yeah, it got to the point where she was just filled with this constant dread. The fun was totally gone, replaced with pure burnout. She was right on the edge of just walking away from figure skating for good. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. It forces you to see what's truly broken. She had to go through that extreme low to really understand what wasn't working. And that incredibly painful time, it actually became the foundation for her whole new way of thinking. Which brings us to the good part. Section 3, a recipe for balance. This is where we get to see how she took all that pain and struggle and turned it into a practical, powerful philosophy. And her recipe is actually pretty simple. First, like we just saw, you have to feel the extremes to find the middle ground. Second, don't pour your entire identity into just one thing. And third, the guiding light for everything, just make sure you're having fun. If not, what's the point? Now, at the very core of this recipe is this really cool concept she calls detached connection. It sounds like a contradiction, right? But think of it this way. It's about being able to connect completely with what you're doing, to be totally present, but without chaining your self-worth to the final result. This quote just nails that idea of detachment. She obviously loves skating, but she knows her life is so much bigger than that. And that perspective completely frees her from the fear of failure. It lets her go out there and perform with joy instead of dread. Of course, you don't just wake up one day with a mindset like this. It really does take a village. And that brings us to Section 4 and the absolutely critical role of her support system. Her support system was built on two main pillars. First, you have her father, who was the cornerstone, this unshakable foundation of belief. And then you have her coaches, who were like the architects, helping her rebuild her mind and her skills. And just look at this number. Her dad invested somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million in her career. But it was never just about the money. It was this massive, profound statement of belief that basically told her, I've got your back no matter what, creating this incredible sense of safety for her. And her coaches were right there with her, completely on the same page. They said it flat out, we are not outcome-based. The goal wasn't the medal. The goal was for her to go out and skate two amazing programs that she was proud of. It completely shifts the focus from the result to the process.
So what you have is this entire team creating an environment where the journey itself was the whole point. Practice wasn't just a grind to get to the podium, it was a daily opportunity to grow, to learn, and to have fun.
So she's got this bulletproof mindset, she's got the support system. What's next? Well, that leads us to our final section, chasing growth, not gold, as she sets her sights on the 2030 Olympics. This timeline really puts her whole journey into perspective. You see her compete at the highest level and then hit that wall of burnout around 2022. She took the time to rebuild from the ground up, and now she's aiming for a totally different kind of win in 2030. And her new goal has nothing to do with winning another medal. It's simply to get on that massive Olympic stage and share programs that she truly loves. The motivation isn't to beat anyone, it's the pure excitement of the performance itself. And it all comes back to this single idea. This one little phrase is basically the core of her entire philosophy. It's the key that let her fall back in love with her sport and completely redefine what success looks like on her own terms. And so we end right where we started, with a question for you. What if the real victory isn't about the prize at the finish line? What if it's about mastering the journey and finding joy and growth along the way? It's definitely something to think about.